Mom's making this house unbearable. Every day moaning about her aches, and we're paying all the medical bills. How long do we have to keep this up? I know. Honestly, it would be easier if she just, you know. Why is she hanging on so long? Start looking into assisted living. We need her out ASAP. For 7 years, I lived with my son's family, raising my grandson. I woke at dawn for bottles. Stayed up nights when he was sick, sacrificed everything. Then one night, I overheard this shocking conversation. They called me a parasite and wished I'd die. Even my son despised me. After being used and discarded, I made the biggest decision of my life. Hello, I'm Susan Miller, 76 years old. 7 years ago at 69, I was living alone after losing my husband. My son Michael had married, and they'd just had baby Ethan. One day, Michael and Jessica appeared at my door with newborn Ethan. Jessica looked exhausted. She needed to return to work, but daycare had a 6-month wait list. Her mother lived in Oregon. And they had no one to watch the baby. Jessica's expression was desperate. For the first time in years, I felt needed. After losing my husband, the loneliness had been crushing. Now I could care for my grandson. They gave me the guest room in their suburban house. At first things were awkward, but I thought we'd become a harmonious family. My days began preparing Ethan's bottles. When he cried at night, I soothed him. I changed diapers and stayed up through stomach aches. Jessica worked, so I cared for Ethan completely during the day. Those were happy times. Ethan's first steps, calling me grandma. Wanting only me when sick, those moments gave my life new energy. Jessica was genuinely grateful, sometimes tearing up, saying she couldn't have kept her job without me. When Ethan turned 5, I handled preschool drop-off and pick-up. Teachers praised how well he was growing. At parent meetings, I loved bragging about my grandson. 7 years passed. Ethan was now 8, starting 3rd grade. Having been there through sleepless nights, bottles, first steps, I felt closer to him than anyone. But my body was changing. My knees hurt, blood pressure rose. 7 years of caregiving had taken its toll. Climbing stairs wasn't easy, and my back often ached. After Ethan started elementary school, the atmosphere changed gradually. Jessica's tone changed. Before, she'd been careful. Now she spoke as if everything were a given. She said she needed to supervise Ethan's homework directly, implying I didn't know what I was doing. When I cooked, she complained food smells got into her clothes. When I watched TV, the volume was too loud. When I moved in the morning, she complained about noise. What hurt most involved Ethan. My grandson, who used to seek only me, now went to his mom more. Jessica told him to consult mommy about everything. I felt invisible. My health worsened. My knees throbbed. Blood pressure kept rising, so I started seeing doctors. When I came home from appointments, Jessica's expression was never good. She criticized how loudly I walked and complained when I groaned from pain. Then came that night. Getting up for the bathroom, I overheard them in the living room. Jessica spoke irritably, at least before, she watched the kid. But now she's dead weight. Every day complaining about pain, we're paying her medical bills. And she's making the house depressing. Michael said honestly, who knows how much longer mom's gonna last. It would be easier if she went sooner. Jessica went further, your mother's ruining our marriage. And Ethan's too attached to grandma. Nursing homes cost too much. We should send her somewhere far away, some cheap place. Michael agreed. Living with elderly parents doesn't fit modern life. I wish this would just resolve itself. I froze. All those dawn wake-ups, diaper changes, sleepless nights, everything crashed down. I didn't sleep that night. I kept comparing the desperate woman who'd begged for help with who she was now. She was so grateful then, but now saw me as a burden. From the next day, my presence shrank. Jessica said she'd handle everything. The message was clear: stay in my room. Even doctor visits made me feel judged. Now that I was sick, I was dead weight. Most hurtful was Ethan distancing himself. He spent more time with his mom. A month passed, and I realized they'd used me when needed. But now I was a burden. Now that I was old and sick, they wanted to throw me away. My appetite disappeared. Food felt like sand. Before, I'd stayed healthy for Ethan, but now even that reason was gone. But on the third day, I realized I needed to plan for my retirement. That night, I began preparations. First, I pulled out the house deed. Fortunately, it was in my name. When my husband died, he'd put it in my name. Next day, I secretly checked real estate prices. Visiting realtors, I found comparable houses had appreciated significantly. I'd have enough to buy a small place with plenty left over. I asked a realtor to find rural properties, detached homes with yards, reasonable transportation. The agent sent photos to my phone. Most exciting was planning to adopt dogs. A lifelong dream I couldn't fulfill in apartments. I researched shelters and breeds. Imagining life with 2 golden retrievers made me happy. I started paperwork, deed copies, notarized documents, everything needed. I moved in complete secrecy. I'd wait until the contract was signed and closing set. That way, they couldn't stop me, and I wouldn't waver. Every night I wrote plans. Moving day, packing lists, plans for the new house. Within a month, I had a complete plan. Those weeks gave me hope. My children wanted me gone, so I'd disappear. After finishing preparations, my appetite returned and I could sleep again. Finally, the time came. I found a house in a small Pennsylvania town. A detached home with a yard, perfect for living alone. I paid the deposit and set the closing date. That evening, I gathered everyone. Our final family meeting. Ethan came after homework. Michael and Jessica sat quietly, sensing something serious. I spoke calmly. I was leaving. I'd sold the house. In 1 month, we'd close, and new owners would move in. Everyone needed to move out. Silence. Michael asked if this was a joke. Jessica looked bewildered. Ethan was confused. I continued, this wasn't a joke. The contract was signed. I'd found a place in Pennsylvania. They needed to find their own place. Michael shouted, asking if I'd lost my mind. Jessica's face went white. Then I spoke calmly. I'd heard their conversation. How they called me a parasite and wished I'd die. I'd heard everything. Jessica's face went paler. Michael fell silent in shock. I was giving them what they wanted. I'd disappear. After 7 years of using me, I was handling it myself. Michael tried excuses. Jessica showed tears. But I'd already decided. Hardest was Ethan's reaction. He couldn't understand why Grandma had to leave. For a child, having the grandmother he'd lived with suddenly leave was shocking. Jessica got on her knees apologizing. Michael grabbed me, begging forgiveness. But I was firm. This was decided. I wanted a new life. The pleading continued every night. I kept refusing. I started packing and ordered things for the new house. They swore they were sorry. But I couldn't undo the hurt. The memories of being used when needed, and treated as burden when sick couldn't be erased. 6 months have passed since moving to this Pennsylvania town. At first, everything was unfamiliar, but now this feels like home. Life in a house with a yard is completely different. Waking to birds singing and seeing flowers starts my day beautifully. Not watching anyone's reactions, waking and sleeping on my schedule. I never knew this could make me so happy. First month, I adopted 2 dogs, Buddy and Daisy. These companions eased my loneliness. Morning walks and evening playtime became precious rituals. The neighbors are wonderful. They welcomed me warmly, taught me gardening, and shared local news. I learned what real neighbors truly are. What about Michael and Jessica? They had to quickly find a small rental. 3 people in a 1-bedroom for $1,800 monthly, such a difference from their suburban house. Jessica had to quit her job. There was no one to watch Ethan. Only now did they realize they'd taken free childcare for granted. My health improved dramatically. Without stress, my blood pressure stabilized, and daily walks helped my knee pain. With peace of mind, my appetite returned and I sleep well. I made a vegetable garden. Growing lettuce, peppers, and tomatoes has been delightful. Cooking with vegetables I grew tastes better, and I share with neighbors. I joined programs at the senior center, singing classes and hiking groups. I could do what I wanted freely. I was genuinely happy. 3 months in, Michael and Jessica visited with Ethan. After struggling in that rental, they finally came. Seeing Ethan's joy warmed my heart. But things were different now. I was confident. They apologized earnestly, saying they understood how much I'd helped only after I was gone. Living in that rental taught them hard lessons. But I told them I'd found my peace. Now Ethan visits once a month. He stays overnight, and I become the doting grandmother again. But now it's on my terms. Living here 6 months taught me much. Love isn't about sacrificing everything in the name of family. Real family happens when there's mutual respect. My days now are fulfilling. I wake, walk the dogs, tend my garden, have tea with neighbors, and in the evening, read books and watch shows. These are hours entirely for myself. I hope you can experience this freedom I found at 76. Don't think it's too late. New beginnings are always possible. If anyone has similar experiences, please share. We can gain strength from each other's stories. Thank you.